symptoms that went along with being struck by that viper. Most people that have studied this out find that there were three major symptoms that come along with the poison that was put in them from the viper. One of the major things it did was cause them to dry up on the inside. They didn't have any saliva left in their mouth. They were already thirsty from the journey, but now there was no fluid left inside of them. They got dry. Number two, they would become unbalanced because they begin to lose their eyesight and the equilibrium in their brain. It would just begin to go crazy. And so it was hard for them to walk. It was hard for them to think. And then finally they would go blind and then die. So there was three stages on their way to the brazen serpent. There was three stages on their way to the answer. If they would have sat down, they would have died. It was so important that they stayed on their feet and kept on going, because the longer that they sit there, the faster the venom began to run through their body. They called this viper a three-stepper. You had 3 steps and you was dead.
My goodness.
There was 3 things they went through. And they had to get to the answer. Right. And one of the things that it did was it made them tired. And they didn't want to walk anymore. And so they were struck, but they would rather just lay there and die than keep on going, because the pain was so bad in their body. Their legs would begin to swell, and they just didn't feel like walking. But the ones that survived were the ones that, regardless of the pain and regardless of the symptoms, they kept on headed towards the answer, because they knew that if they laid down, they knew if they sat down that they would die. It was so important that they kept on working their way towards the answer. Listen, things are going to come your way, and we're all going to make mistakes, and sin will be in the camp, and there will be symptoms that come to us. Sometimes you won't feel like getting up in the morning. Sometimes you won't feel like worshiping God. Sometimes you'll come to church and you're so tired you want to just sit there. There'll be times you come to church and you're so mad about the way the week had gone, you don't really want to come to the altar. There will be times you come to church and you really don't feel like being at church. But regardless of all the symptoms, it's so important that you keep heading towards that answer. It's so important that you do not sit down, but you keep on worshiping. You keep on praising, because sin is in the camp and the devil's trying to destroy God's people. And it's important that we realize the only way to the answer is to keep on going and keep on going. Tonight I'd like to preach for just a few moments. I ain't about to sit down. Look to the person beside you, say, I'm not about to sit down now. The worst thing that those people could have done was lay there. Because if they lay there, they die. And in this revival, if we lay here, the revival will die. It's so important that no matter how tired we are, no matter how wore out we get, because our flesh will get weak, but our spirit will be strong. It's important that we refuse to let the devil keep us down. It's important that we refuse to let him have his way. It's important that every night we come in here, we make the service so hot with worship that the devil can't even enter in. It's so important that we push past our stagnated flesh and get into the Spirit and worship in spirit and in truth. It is important that we become vibrant. It is important that we become passionate, because if the devil can have his way in here, he'd get you to stay in your seat and not move, because if he can get you to lay down, he can get you to die. But remember, it is not God's will for us to linger in a sin-infested camp, but it is God's purpose for all of us. There'll be vipers in the camp, but there's always an answer. The Bible didn't say that the vipers went away. The vipers were still there, but now they have an answer. The devil's not going to stop waging war against the youth group, but there's still an answer. The devil's not going to stop from waging war in your home, but there's still an answer. The devil's not going to stop trying to destroy revival, but there's still an answer. And if there's an answer, there's hope. And the only way to it is to refuse to lay down and die, but to get up and fight. I'm not going to stop before. I shall not die in prison, but I shall get up and fight. For if the Lord is on my side, who can be against me? How greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world? There's an worship before. I refuse to sit down.
Amen.
I've done come too far. I've done been through way too many things. And now my curiosity has got the best of me, because I'm wondering why I went through what I went through. I'm not about to lay down and not see the answer, but I'm waiting for the day that I say, that's why I went through that. That's why I fought like I fought. That's why I cried the tears I cried. That's why I went through the heartache that I went through. One day I'll stand and say it was worth it. Every step of the way, every step of agony, every step of pain, every time I lost my balance, every time I got thirsty, every time I lost my sight, it was worth it all to stand here on this side of the storm until as the storm didn't destroy me, it just moved me out from where I wasn't supposed to be and put me on the rock to stay. Somebody ought to rejoice. They're going to challenge. Somebody ought to rejoice. Everybody don't feel like it. Somebody ought to worship. Though they're tired. Because just on the other side of the hill stands the cross. Just on the other side of the mountain stands the answer. The thing Abraham didn't know is that while he was working his way up the hill, on the other side of the hill, he couldn't see it. But all along the way, at the same time he was coming up, on the other side the answer was coming up. For as he was going up to do a difficult task, there was a ram coming up the other side. And the ram never really made it to the top of the mountain. They didn't belong up there. But God was sending the answer up anyhow. He couldn't see it. All he could see was mountain in front of him. All he could see was the difficult task he was going to have to perform. But on the other side, there was an answer. And just as he was about to do what God told him to do, God said, Abraham, Abraham. And he specifically heard it twice. He heard him say, Abraham, Abraham. And Abraham stopped.
Yes, he did.
Look at the thicket.
Right.
For there's your answer. And there caught in that was the ram. The answer was on the other side. Had Moses sat down and lingered at the bottom of the hill, thinking about how he was going to have to do this, why it was supposed to happen, he may not have seen the answer, but because he held on, because he went through, because he didn't stop, God provided the answer. Listen, this isn't time to lay down. This isn't time to play games. We're in a serious thing here. God is coming back sooner than you can even imagine. There's no time to lay down. It's time to do what God has put in our hearts to do. God will show up with the answer. We may not have the funds to build what God tells us to build, but there's an answer coming up the other side of the hill. We may not know how we're going to complete the project, but if you keep on working on it, if you keep on building it, God will give you the answer. I've come to build this church. They don't dare sit down now, but to get up and fight them like you've never fought before. This is our season. This is our time. This is our year. God is sending it to us. This is our time. We've waited for years. We fought for years. But this year we see the answer. But while we fought so hard on these other years, this year we shall see the blessings of God come down like we've ever seen it before. Rejoice. Don't despair. Don't be sad. Get out of the valley. Get on your mountain. Because God is coming and He's bringing us what we've been praying for. But I ain't about to sit down now.
Come on.
Be secret from Roman. I used to work at a mattress store years ago. And I'll never forget one day I was there by myself. And I just sold a mattress to a woman the day before. She was mean as can be. I was glad to get her out of the store. Well, the next day she was back. It scared me. Because I just sold her something. I didn't know what in the world she was doing back. But she came back and she said, I don't like my mattress. I said, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, that you don't like your mattress. She said, I want my money back. I said, well, ma'am, I said, did you already open the mattress? She said, yeah, I opened it. I slept on it. I pulled the tags off. But I want my money back.